Hello and welcome to BCM325 Future Cultures. My name is Dr. Christopher Moore and I am a Senior Lecturer in Communication and Media at the University of Wollongong. In this video, I'm going to give you an overview of the subject and help you prepare for the session ahead. The learning philosophy in this subject has three vectors. The first vector is future studies, where you're going to become familiar with the many ways that people anticipated the future in the past and the present. We start with the ancient past, but then focus on recent history and the emergence of prediction, forecasting, and what is called operations research, which emerged from the Second World War and became highly advanced during the Cold War. The second vector for the subject is cybernetics, the art and science of automatic command and control in machines and living things. You will become familiar with the ubiquity of cybernetics and understand how this makes your everyday experience cybercultural. You will begin to see how almost every encounter in the world is influenced by autonomous systems for controlling and commanding your behaviors. The third vector is science fiction thinking. I'll talk more about this as we focus on what will happen during the seminars, and there is a separate video on this in the Moodle page. But the highlight is that we will be comparing and contrasting our experience of the present with the way the future has been represented, particularly by Hollywood, in the past. So let's talk about how the subject runs. There is a topic page. There are topic sections at the top of the Moodle page, starting with this week, week 0. You will need to complete the subject questionnaire to gather useful information about your Twitter handle, because we'll be using Twitter, and your Discord name and account, because we'll be using Discord in the seminars. But the two most important questions on the questionnaire, the two most important questions are: what grade do you expect for this subject, and what grade do you aspire to in this subject? Answering these two questions in a straightforward and honest manner will help us to calibrate how to provide useful feedback to you and to help ensure that you'll get the most out of this subject. If you want to pass, then that's great. If you just want to engage with the subject in a minimal way with the base level commitment, then simply put, I just want to pass this subject. The tutor, Jasmine, who's taking the afternoon seminar, and myself, who's taking the morning seminar, will do our best to support you and help you ensure that you get through the subject. For those of you that just want to pass the subject, you have our total support, you have our total respect, and we'll do everything we can to make sure that happens. A credit is between 65 and 74. And the majority of students aim for this band. It's really achievable in this subject, and we'll do the best to tailor our feedback and help you make sure you're sitting above that 65% mark. For those of you thinking of perhaps going on to an honours year in BCM, or you just want to make sure you have the option, then you need to aim for a distinction. This is a higher level of engagement in the subject, particularly with the subject content. And each section on the Moodle page is tagged with the content that you should consume. For example, if you are just looking to pass, just look for the tags that say P+. If you're looking for a credit, you'll want to do the content that has P+ and C+. And if you're looking for a distinction, then there's content that is marked P+, C+, and D+. There is a higher level of engagement required at the distinction level. You're expected to go beyond the standard, and there is a variety of resources, as I've mentioned, that can help you improve your work. And I'll explain more about how we do that in the seminars and in this video. If you're after a high distinction, then there is a range of support materials that will help you in achieving this level of engagement in the subject. If you're aiming for a distinction, then you should be checking in regularly with your tutor and with me via Discord. You can send me an email or a message on Discord, and our contact detail is in the Moodle page. You should aim to have a consult of 15 or 20 minutes once a fortnight with us, particularly with me if you're looking for that high distinction. Okay, so please be honest, be direct in the Moodle questionnaire. That will help us tailor our feedback to you in your assessments. Okay, so I want to offer a little bit more detail of that breakdown because not all content for the subject is the same week to week. Sometimes there's more content in a week. As we're leading up to the assessments, sometimes there's less. And the content is broken up into long-form lectures. So there are multi-part long-form lectures. Then there are concept videos that are around 10 to 15 minutes. And if you're after a distinction or a high distinction level, then you should be demonstrating a higher level of engagement with the content. So if you are engaging in the content and you're trying to show a clear application of that learning in the assessments and the weekly participation through the live tweeting, then you'll be well on your way to getting that distinction. And we'll be talking more about this as we go. So unless you're engaging with the content and you're demonstrating that engagement, then you're going to be in the credit to a pass bracket. Seminars. Okay, so you'll be expected to look at the content and the lectures and the materials outside of the seminars before the seminars, which happen on Thursdays. The seminars are 3 hours and they start on Discord. So there's instructions for accessing the Digital Media Society server and the class channel at the top of the subject Moodle page. Each week, we will log into Discord and we will start a briefing session. That briefing session will usually go 5, 10, 15 minutes. Then we will have a film screening. You are responsible for accessing the screenings yourselves. I can't screen them over Discord or arrange a private screening while we're in online mode in this subject. And so there are 10 weeks of screenings, and you're required to attend a minimum of 8. If you can't attend the screening during the seminar, you can catch up outside of the seminar. But the live tweeting process, which I'll explain in a minute, might be a bit more difficult. So each text is available on YouTube. They're also available on Amazon Prime, Apple TV for usually a rental of about $5. Many of them are on Netflix, but they come and go from Netflix all the time, so it's not easy to arrange that. So at the most, the subject will cost you $50 over the session. If you can't afford that, or you can't, there's some reason why you can't access a screening that week, you can speak to the library. Sometimes they will be able to have access to Netflix and so on through the library, or other platforms and servers. You might be able to get access through the library, or you can speak to yourselves and talk amongst yourselves about how you might arrange access. I can't, for copyright reasons, just screen them over Discord. So I recommend you form a collective and organize access. Okay, live tweeting. So over the course of the screening, you will be engaged in the real-time analysis of the screening. And the idea is that you'll have looked at the content for that week and you'll be thinking about that content and trying to apply that to the analysis. So there is a minimum. There's a Moodle on the Moodle page. There is a separate video about live tweeting. You can go there. But the basic idea is that. Sorry, just going to see the. Oh, sorry. There we go. All right. So the basic idea is that a pass level is about like 10 tweets and 20 interactions for eight screenings. Credit, you want the full 10 screenings, 10 tweets, 20 interactions, and an interaction is a conversation. So we're looking at at developing your live tweeting skills of covering a live event, but also engaging in analysis through conversation in a live event. This is, and as I mentioned in the video, this is a high level skill. This is a skill that you will develop over the 10 weeks. And the idea is that you might find it a bit rough going at the start, but by the end of the 10 weeks, you'll be quite adept at covering a live event in real time. So at a distinction level, we're looking at 10 screenings, 10 original tweets, and 20 interactions or conversations, where you are demonstrating comprehensive understanding of the subject knowledge through textual analysis and conversation. You'll be integrating detailed further research, right? So at a high distinction level, you'll probably pre-watch the screening. You will pre-generate your tweets. You will go through and do research about the text, and you will demonstrate real-time analysis and conversation. High-level engagement there for distinction and high distinction. So yeah, here we go. I've gone through that here. First time back recording lectures after a break last year, so still catching up on the process. But I'll put this Prezi in the Moodle page. It's also, everything is also here in the subject outline. Please review the subject outline. The subject outline is very detailed. There's a lot to do in this subject. It's very easy to pass and get through, but there is a lot to actually do in the subject. Okay, so that's going to bring us to the social media guidelines. Please, there is a social media guidelines document on the top of the subject Moodle page. We might have a look at them in the seminars in week 1 if we've got time, but that's up to you to make sure that you understand what the code of conduct is for social media use. Okay, so we are now fortunate that we have access to a range of really great artificial intelligence, or as you'll see later, I call them artificial conversation platforms like ChatGPT. So I highly encourage you to use ChatGPT and Midjourney in your content creation, particularly your digital artifact, but also your live tweeting. I'm going to be experimenting using ChatGPT to create some live tweets each week and help expand my content, and I encourage you to do the same. I'll be putting a separate lecture up on how to use ChatGPT and prompts effectively. It's really great to pre-generate tweets, but there are a couple of things to remember when you're using these systems. So the first one is to use with integrity. So it's always important to just acknowledge that you're using it. So when I use ChatGPT to create a tweet, I'll use the hashtag ChatGPT. And as you'll see from the other video, or every single tweet that you put for this subject has to have the hashtag BCM325. Otherwise, it doesn't count. Make sure you verify the facts. We've got to remember that ChatGPT is a conversation bot. It's not a search engine. It will just make stuff up. These kinds of programs hallucinate reality all the time. So it'll just make stuff up. So like anything you find on the internet, make sure you verify the sources. You don't want to get caught out using ChatGPT and not verifying your source and spreading misinformation. That's a major fail. And grammar check. And this is where you can play with the tweet. Like often I'm finding when ChatGPT is putting stuff out, it's very clear, it's very coherent, but it's a little bit flat. It's a little bit monotone. And so I often rewrite what ChatGPT is putting out and put a bit more life and a little bit more energy and creativity back into that tweet. It's a really useful prompt. It's a really useful start for material. It helps reduce the cognitive load of creating content. But it needs the human touch. Remember, and we'll talk about this a lot. We'll talk about the cyborg. The human is always enhanced when they use tools, and tools are always enhanced when they use humans. And so that cybernetic and cyborgian partnership is very much part of what this subject is all about. Okay, major learning assessment. All right, so the way a 300 subject works is that you are expected to spend 3 hours independently on the subject for each 1 hour of class time. So we've got 3 hours of seminars, so that's 9 hours of work each week. Now, in the current climate where everyone's working, a lot of responsibilities, I know that's very difficult. So even if we just work at a minimum level, this is the minimum level, 3 hours of the seminar, 1 hour plus, however much extra you spend on accessing the content and going through the lectures and the readings and materials and things like that, and then 2 hours of working on your DA each week. That's the minimal, right? And that's still going to be 20 hours on your DA over digital artifact, right? If you are new to the digital and social media major and digital and social media subjects, and you've not done a digital artifact before, which is the major learning assessment, please send me an email or a message on Discord so we can arrange a chat just to make sure. But even if you think you know what a DA is, you need to pay attention to this next bit, because and there'll be a whole video on this. There's a specific focus for the DA. There's a specific filter, a specific lens through which you have to engage in your DA in this subject. So we'll talk about that in a sec. Okay, let's talk about what's coming up in terms of assessment. Week 3, you'll have a video pitch presentation embedded in a blog post, and there'll be a separate video on that. Week 4, you will post a summary of your peer review comments. So you'll be peer reviewing 3, and you'll be assigned 3 specific pitches to provide comments on, and then you'll be doing a critical review of your engagement in that task. And then week 5, you'll be doing your first summary of your live tweeting. And then week 12, you'll do your second summary of your live tweeting. And then in week 13, we have the DA report. So you submit a report. That's all that's assessed at the end is your report. And that is an audio video report embedded in a blog post. All right, let's talk about the big challenge for this subject. This year, your digital artifacts for this subject have a specific focus, and that focus is decarbonisation. You can continue to work on a previous digital artifact or start a new one, but your focus for your activity in this subject will be specifically on decarbonisation. I know this will be confronting for some. I know it'll be a big challenge. However, it is very clear that we are currently on course for disaster. And digital and social media will play a massive role in reaching national zero emissions by 2050. If you do not know what I'm talking about, there is another lecture coming up that will explain this in detail. We'll be talking a lot about what Wendell Bell calls possible, probable, and preferable futures. And now is the perfect time to tackle this real-world problem at a practical level to make a preferable future come true. So, welcome to the subject. There is a lot of fun ahead. There's a lot of challenges ahead. There's a lot of content and a lot of things to do. I am on Discord, and you can send me a message on Discord at any time. Contact information is on the Moodle page. If you're nervous about the subject, or if you want to speak to me about the grade that you want to achieve, I am very keen to chat. I look forward to following your live tweets each week, both the morning seminar and the afternoon seminar, and I look forward to working with you on building a better future. So remember, the future is now.